Happiness is freedom. Freedom is having the choice to spend your time doing things that inspire you. Most people want freedom, but many people don't have a clear objective, a roadmap, or a strategy to achieve it. Everyone deserves to live an inspired and free life. I believe that when we're free and able to focus on our most meaningful work, we simply become better human beings. We can give more, care more, support more, and love more. I'm an investor, a trader, and an entrepreneur, and I get to spend every day doing what I love. At the age of 29 years old, I became financially free, and since then my mission has been to help and inspire other people to achieve the same so that they can be more of who they really want to be. Always Free is about having a free mind, being free to question the status quo, free to take risks, free to say no, free to say yes, free from social idealisms, opinions and beliefs, free to disobey, and free to wake up every day and spend your time to make a difference that inspires you. You can have it all. Living a life designed by you isn't a stroke of luck or a result of circumstance. It's a choice. So if you want to learn how to become free and live an inspired life, join me for the #1 show for financial empowerment and wealth creation as I share my insights, tips, strategies and advice on what allowed me to be always free. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Jason Graystone. Whoa, welcome back to the show, guys. I hope you've had a great week so far. As mentioned in the intro, I'm talking to Terence Mas. Thanks for coming on, man.
Jason, what a pleasure to be here. What a pleasure. I mean, first, it's been great working with you, over the last year and a half.
Yeah, likewise.
But to be sitting here with you now, yeah, it's surreal.
I'm excited for this episode because we're going to share a journey that I think a lot of people will resonate with. It's something that a lot of people kind of have a lot of misconceptions about, and this show's about the truth and giving people clear, tangible direction so that whatever path they choose in life really is kind of, they know the expectation, they have the realistic expectation of where that's going to take
100%,
them, so they have clarity
100%.
over all the steps they need to get there. And Terence is one of those guys. So Terence, tell us a little bit about your backstory. So who's Terence?
Yeah, Terence is I'm a dreamer. I'm a big dreamer. I believe there's one of the greatest books I read is As a Man Thinketh, and it talks about dreamers change the world. And so I'm an entrepreneur. I was born and raised in Harare, Zimbabwe. Then I grew up in Houston, in Texas, and started off in the thinking of the American dream, and I managed to capture what that feeling feels like by living in America.
Right.
There's a whole massive
land of opportunity, right?
Not even just the land of opportunity. It's more to do with just your attitude. People, even the guy who's begging on the street, he does it with style.
Yeah, he's got swagger.
You know what I'm saying? There's a certain style that Americans have, and looking from the outside, Americans, I mean, they create the world.
Yeah.
Everybody is trying to live up to that style. They always set a standard, and we're always chasing after it.
Yeah.
Even though my accent is a hit and miss. Sometimes I'm in my Zimbabwean accent, and then I'm in my Houston accent, and now obviously I live in England now, and my daughters have a British accent, and then there's the aspect of me living in the Middle East for a little bit, living in Dubai, so I've got to really articulate my words because I was used to deal with Arabs. So my accents are here, there, and everywhere. But when I say who I am, I mean, I'm African.
Right.
100% Zimbabwean, bred, born, cut out the cloth. Yeah. I'm African.
So you're an entrepreneur, right?
Yes, indeed.
And what do you primarily focus on? Or what did you focus on primarily?
So the word entrepreneur is a very amazing word because, it means you do want to do everything. But I got into property.
Yeah.
My first mentor was a Chinese man named Andy, and I'm indebted to him. He showed me a way to have a life, to build a life in property, and obviously the first goal in any entrepreneurial journey is to replace your 9-to-5.
Right.
I think that's pretty much how people see it.
Yeah.
Is replace that 9-to-5, and it achieved that. But I'm stuck there now. I've just been able to do that, and now it's about how do you go to the next level?
Yeah.
How do you become financially free without depending on one source of income?
Interesting, because a lot of people think that you go into property and that is the goal to financial freedom, right?
Yeah.
So obviously there's some kind of misconceptions, but there's also some little traps that people fall into following that route, right? I always talk about liquid and illiquid assets, and if you're going for illiquid assets, yes, you can get to financial freedom, but you have a lot of headache potentially. So tell us some of the kind of stories or struggles that you found there.
I mean, before I answer that, firstly, I've got to say that I didn't even know that.
Right.
Which was more scarier because
I think most people don't.
Yeah, I got into property with a mentor, and he basically held my hand. So that was easy. That was nice because I mean, you're paying for that, right? You're paying for a service, which is great. It's like a valet. You know, you're going to arrive at the restaurant. They're going to take your car. You got a table. Boom. Right. You're going to have a great night. That's what mentorship is. Yeah. And I love that. Like, I'm willing to pay whatever amount for mentorship because it's almost like a guarantee. And the only way you can mess that up is yourself, by self-sabotage, which, again, something that I'm killing every day. Because self-sabotage played a lot of bad in my life. Right. I self-sabotaged myself so many times. So I didn't even know that. And then when I finally realized that there were certain asset classes and there were certain levels of what those returns are, because property kind of like, you know, the fluffy side of it is, oh man, I'll own that property, it's great. You drive past and you feel proud, but you're like, man, I wish I could go and buy a Lambo, or I wish I could go and spend money on a 5-star hotel. Right. Because on paper you can. You know, your property's worth millions. I mean, the property market's been crazy. You know, you're a millionaire on paper, but you can't even, you know, go and do the things you want to do. You can't even, because you got to sell. You got to, you know, service the debt. You know, you're working for the bank. You're basically a bank manager.
And your net worth's going up and up and up, but your income isn't going up and up and up necessarily.
100%. And but it can. But you've got to go and acquire more properties. And you've got to service more debt. And you've got to, you know, aspects of dealing with tenants is a positive and a negative, because you get to meet great people. Like some of my tenants, you know, I'll be friends with them and we'll have a relationship for life. You know, but there's other tenants that make that you don't sleep at night, you know, because they're destroying your asset. You know, and it's you know, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So if you're in a service-based business, you know, if you got one bad tenant and 6 good ones, the 6 good ones are going to leave. You know, you've got that aspect. And then you've got the bricks and mortar aspect, which is those bricks are decaying.
The roof's falling down.
And I'm a big guy, right? I'm 6'1", you know, 100 kilos. So when I walk up those stairs, I can hear those stairs crackling. You know, they about to break in, and I'm thinking, oh shit, I gotta have to service this. You know, and then you have, again, the hit and miss. You got good tenants, you got bad tenants, tenants that look after your stuff, and you got tenants who don't look after your stuff. And so you've got to constantly service those things that they don't look after. So, you know, in that journey, when you start out, I think you do have a lifespan where you can take it. And then you're like, I can't take this anymore.
And you hit a threshold of where pushing for the next one that's going to potentially give you more income is not worth it, right? Because it's
100%.
like, oh, you know, it's like way outside of your comfort zone, not worth the stress, not worth the pressure, not worth the responsibility,
100%.
The risk, all that comes with it. And it's kind of that point there what you need to push to, but you can't.
100%. And that point in your life is the point where it's almost of no return. Because if I did that, you know, and no disrespect to anyone watching this, because, you know, I have really good friends who are successful in property. You know, I got a friend who has just bought an apartment in the Battersea power station, and, you know, through property. So there are elements of that, but, you know, he's got probably a better mental mindset to do that. You know, so it's not a cut and paste.
No.
You know, everyone's going to have a different scenario. Like, you know, there's entrepreneurs who are successful, entrepreneurs who are not successful. But, you know, there is that point of no return if you cross that line. And I think I got to that point.
And would you say that's the point where you thought, like, you kind of had this realization of what freedom actually was?
Yeah, wow, man. I thought, you know, I honestly thought to myself that the picture that I was painting was that I was going to get freedom, but at what cost? At a cost that I might become a little bit like I don't really believe too much in the whole mental health perspective of, like, I believe that it's there because you go through emotions, but you know, there's the other spot of just blaming your faults in life, and becoming excuses, right, and then, you know, so there's a fine line of mental health, and I think that I could have become a victim to myself and started using that as an excuse. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, now I'm in a jam. I got all of this to handle, and I can only blame the world except for myself. And that was that fine line. I was like, okay, no, you can change this. You can keep this positive. You can keep this really good. You can grow this situation, and you can make it better by changing a few things. And I had to go and look for those things. Okay, cool. So Terence has been working in my Tears of Freedom program for over a year now. Maybe a year now. What was the biggest kind of realization in that kind of changed your perception of and kind of got you excited about what life could be like? I guess it kind of put you back on track to what you first set out to do. 100%. Like, it gave you a bit more clarity, right? What was going through your mind when you? Because you must have been like, what have I been doing? Like, I didn't want to buy more property. Like, it was nice, you know, it was really nice, and you know, but I didn't want to do that. There's a point, you know, there's something you said in one of your videos before I joined Tears of Freedom that got me into in thing, you know, and you said, you know, living an inspired life and doing things that you love to do. And I wasn't. I wasn't being inspired anymore. You know, and I wasn't. To resent it a little bit, or? Yeah, there was a lot of resentment because the you know, the positive, which was, yes, money was coming in, and money, you know, and I will become financially free, but how I was doing it, there wasn't a marry anymore. It was a little bit of a, okay, there's a divorce happening here. How far do you have to sell your soul before you reach the point? And it's like, is it going to be too late then, right? Yes, indeed. And there was an element of, like, you know, time as well. Like, you know, I've got all this energy now. I've got all this charisma now. I've got all this, you know, ideas. You know, I'm working on films. I'm working on all these other aspects of my life. But this here is taking up so much of my time and draining me. I might not ever be able to achieve those other goals. And that was another point of realization of joining Tears of Freedom. I was like, okay, finally, I could actually do all of this. And I mean, and don't get me wrong, like, property is part of my. And you know, you teach this very well and very clear that these things should be part of your businesses to get you to financial freedom. They are not financial freedom. They're not financial freedom. You are financial freedom. And I was like, oh my God, finally! I thought I was getting mad. Like, I put my whole life into this one asset class, and there's so many others that could help me achieve that goal. And so that clarity alone was priceless. Like, I went to sleep. I think the day when I signed up, and I think I just did the first module, right? That night, I went to sleep with a smile on my face. I was like, finally, I have an answer. Of what I'm going to do with my life, right? You know what? I got to tell you this story. I just turned 40, and it was in lockdown, and I was miserable. My phone was ringing. My family wanted to wish me. My friends wanted to wish me happy birthday. You know, my wife, my kids, they were all excited for me. And I locked myself in the room. And I thought, man, I'm 40. It's a eureka moment. Like, I need to change a lot. There's so much about me that needs to change, because if I've come to this age and I've only achieved this, which is still, I'm grateful. Amazing, it's still amazing, but it's not what I wanted, what I set out. And that's all that matters, right? Definitely. And so I actually bought Tears of, and I had also made a rule that I was looking to buy one last course. I'm done with the courses. I needed to just find one more, and I think I'll be good. And I'm just going to go on and live my life. And thank God I found your course, man. Wow. It's honestly, man, it's like, I'm not even, forget you guys watching this, even if you didn't buy it. For me alone, man, I'm blessed. I'm just so grateful to be sitting here with you. I appreciate that. That's incredible. And it's been great to work with you. What would you say is, like, what's different? Like, what's your kind of outlook now? Because you obviously still got the properties, you've still got plans, you're
closer to being you now because you've got a plan to be you, right?
100%.
So what's the outlook? What's the plans for you?
The clarity was the first part of me realizing that I was lost, like totally lost in a situation that I wasn't going to come out of. Like, you know, we earlier on we spoke about, you know, my sat nav was sending me south.
Yeah.
Right. But eventually I would have been going north, which is where I needed to go. But how long could I be going south for to finally be going true north? And now that I found that there's like, in the hood or back in where I grew up, we call it the bounce in your step.
Yeah.
Right. I was losing that bounce in my step.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like starting to, you know, getting back to the blame game, blaming, you know, government, and, you know, we go down that route because you don't want to look inside and blame yourself. So I really had that clarity to start building the right businesses, the right structure, and the right, the one thing that you and my property mentor both say a lot, right, is the strategy. What is the strategy? Like, how are you going to get there?
Yeah.
How are you going to get there? And a lot of people, including myself, you know, you kind of like just want to fluke it. You kind of like just think, oh, I'm doing the work. I'll get there.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, math doesn't lie, right?
No.
If you are going to put in the work with no structure, yes, you could hit it, but there's a very small percent of people that actually do that.
Yeah.
And I had to start eliminating myself from those percentages. All right, what's the 1% of the popularity that live financially free? What's the 3%? What's the 5%? What's the 10%?
Yeah.
And what are they doing? And realizing, oh my gosh, you're not doing that. That means you could never be in the 5. Oh, you're not doing that. You're never going to be in the 1.
No. I think the numbers, like I say a lot to you guys, knowing your numbers, right? It's crucial because numbers don't lie. And, you know, if you burn all of the kind of textbooks in the world today and ripped up all of the kind of proof of science and mathematics, in 1,000 years, those textbooks would exist again, exactly the same, and the numbers would be the same. And because numbers cannot lie, they are a mathematical formula. So when you know those numbers, you have absolute clarity over.
And you cover those numbers beautifully with the tools you have.
Right.
And, you know, Tears of Freedom, for me, the biggest takeaway is the tools.
Right.
You know, everything from managing your debt to designing the lifestyle you want to have, to calculating when you're going to be financially freedom, to the day, to the hour, you know, to the levels of investment that you need to have, the asset classes of investments you need to have, down to the bank account setups you need to have set up. Oh my God.
And all while creating a life that you want, right? Not someone else's life, or trying to be the next guru, or trying to, you know, follow some speculation.
I'm holding back my excitement, you know, on this podcast. No, in true honesty, because, you know, there is an element like, and I've been an advocate of being excited and people following, right?
Yeah.
Because it's great to follow the excited guy.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be excited for no reason. But man, I'm excited because, you know, because that, like, I'm actually going to hit that number. Like there's
certainty.
Man, like I can finally relate to what Superman or Batman feels like when they become Batman or Superman.
Right.
You know, there's that.
Amazing.
You suit up and you're man, I'm going to work. I know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And there's pain. The pain doesn't go away.
No.
The work ethic is you know, it explains to you that, hey, you know what you did today might not work today, but it's okay. Go home, suit up, and come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Where before it was like, nah, man, you know what? I'm giving up, man. Like,
yeah. I think numbers, going back to the numbers thing and clarity and having a plan and knowing exactly where you can be and what you need to do to get there is something that's massively
powerful.
It's very powerful, massively kind of appreciated and underknown by the mass population. Everyone seems to have this kind of when I retire, I've got this property, but I'll downsize and I'll take the equity out. And as we were saying earlier, when your brain doesn't change, your mind doesn't change.
No.
So when you're 70, 60, 80, it doesn't matter. You are not going to want to downgrade your lifestyle. It's not in our nature. We want to grow as humans. That is development. We're all on
we're creators.
We're creators. We want to be growing always. So then to get to your 60s, 70s and then go, I love this house. I love this environment that I've created all my life. I'm going to go and live in a little bungalow because I'll be happy there. You won't be happy doing that. I promise you won't be happy doing that.
No way.
Like, it's just not how we are.
And not only that, like, you won't be happy doing it. Like, you will start, like, and I see it, again, like, I thank God for my awareness, right, to the universe. And I get to spend, my life with a lot of, different, cultures. I've traveled well, and but I do see that there is this element when you're in your old age and things haven't worked out. You're pretty much now just counting the days to your death.
Yeah.
And it's painful because the word fallen heroes, is something that I've seen. There's people that have inspired me, and then you find them in the newspaper the next day because they've done something bad or they've ruined their life. That's a fallen hero, and it's the most heartbreaking thing to see somebody that is old now, or they've got no energy, no drive, and they have to downsize. And they have to give up all of those things, man. And I'm constantly thinking, I don't want to be that. No. I don't want to get there. So yeah, you're right. It's the mind. But then, do you think there's this element of, like, the mind doesn't lie, so we're lying to ourselves?
Yeah.
Right. That we're just gonna. No, it's not gonna happen to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think your mind can mask things, but what it can't mask is your soul, who you are as your spirit, and who you really are. And as we were talking earlier, when I went to Disney back in the day, we checked into Disney and the guy said, go be a kid again, as he stamped my ticket. And everyone wants to be a kid. Like, everyone is basically taking life more and more seriously as they get older. And then as they hit about 35, 38, they start trying to figure out how they can be a kid again.
Yes.
And they start figuring out, how can I actually do all those things that I wish I did in the first place, and not went into this kind of snowball of serious kind of, and I believe that you can do that from day one. And if you design your life to do that from day one and have the strategies in place, and you become you're on that mission where you're ambitious to achieve those goals whilst doing what you love, then you're going to accelerate and get there much
But I've got to say, the reality to that, though, is you've got to be in the right environment. That's why you need to be in a community. Because if I started being a kid again, they're going to think I'm on crack. They're going to be like, I mean, look, I'm in the gym working out. I got the music going on or a podcast, and I'm in the zone. Like, people, I can see in the mirror, in the corner of my eye, people watching me because I'm talking to myself. I'm high-fiving myself because I want to enjoy my life.
Yeah.
Because I want, got that feeling of being a kid again. But when it's finances, it's different. When you're talking about money, when you're talking about having financial freedom, it's nice being in a community that everyone wants that game, because to the tools that you have for us to set up those businesses, they got to be crazy ideas. They got to be, everyone in the group is building like sexy businesses. You got somebody doing the makeup, you've got somebody, building, this and building that. And there's nice businesses that you don't feel ashamed to say, I'm going to build this, because in a normal environment, people be like, oh man, Kim Kardashian's doing that.
Done that.
It's already done. Yeah. Oh, so-and-so's doing that. You're never going to make it, and you can't do that. Like, but society right now pretty much has a big majority of people who have already failed before they started. But we got to live around those people all the time. Yeah. So I love being, I've secluded myself. I've become so alien to the world where I'd rather be in a watching a podcast, watching your podcast, or being in the community. Yeah. So that I don't feel like I'm going, like I'm on crack. Yeah. Because I've got this great idea of becoming the next Vin Diesel or the next The Rock. It's a bodacious goal. Yeah. But it's those type of goals that can only get you to that freedom, that lifestyle.
I've always said, you just make your goals so big that people laugh at you. And
well, you laugh at yourself. You got to.
Just make them so big that people just think you're totally ridiculous.
100%. Yeah. But I've got to because I know we strap for time, but this view of financial freedom as well. you know, it's a big bodacious goal, because
is.
looking at the
Takes courage.
stats, yeah, I think it said, if I'm not mistaken, there's only 1% of the planet that are financially free.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sitting next to the 1% right now. So, you know, how does that feel? Like, you know, there was a question I wanted to ask you is, like, you know, do you have a must have, like, for your day to be this day?
Yeah.
You must have some rules that there's no to this and there's only yes to that.
Right. So my no is to doing things that I think are aligned with someone else's mission and goal, and being pushed around to believe certain ways.
Right.
And my yes is do the things that I want to do and delegate everything else that I don't find inspiring and monetize what I love doing. So going on to your point, financial freedom is heavily this. A lot of people think that financial freedom is going to get them to a place where they have to, they can stop what they're doing every day, which is usually a job that they hate.
Yeah.
And then they don't have to do anything anymore, right?
Yeah.
My idea of financial freedom is doing what you love every day and making your vocation that. So being paid to do what you love every day, okay?
Yeah.
Just living, which is why I say YouTubers, like, that is a real thing, that is a real job.
Yes,
They're
indeed.
just people doing what they love every day and they're being paid for it. But true financial freedom, so if you're doing that every day for the rest of your life, you won't want to stop doing that ever.
way.
Even when you're 70, 80, 90, I don't want to stop doing that. You're always going to want to be doing stuff.
Yes.
Right? Your brain doesn't change, as I said before. So if you can be paid for that, great. True financial freedom is having the choice to stop should you wish. So if I had an accident, or if I didn't need to do it, or I wanted to just kick up a little bit, just for whatever reason.
Take a 5-year sabbatical.
I can.
Yes.
And that, just having that, is the freedom of choice. And that is what I believe is happiness. And that is why I think you're a better human being when you can get to that point, because you're creative, caring, loving, calm. You know, you're just
passionate.
Compassionate. You don't get swung around by chaos, and you can just think, and you're a calm person to be around. And
that is
freedom.
That is pretty much why I joined Tears of Freedom.
Awesome.
You know, 1000%. I mean, like, I could never see myself, you know, in the future, you know, when you design in your life, which is, I love, you know, like you're like in the purpose module, right? When you know, what's your purpose, and design that life, you know, I will still be doing courses. I will still be buying courses. I will still be going to seminars, no matter how successful you get, because there is that level of growth that comes with freedom that you want to constantly have. And how do you constantly do that? Because the idea of, you're right, just becoming financially free and doing nothing, you might as well just dig your grave. You're going to die. Sorry, you're going to die. Another thing about living the life that you enjoy doing, you know, comes with that fear. Because you got to cross over. Like, right now, subliminally, I'm living a life that is successfve but I don't feel it. You know what I mean?
I don't think you ever really feel it. Like, I don't think I do find that people who do achieve success in any kind of area are people who have strived. Because if you've been given everything on a silver platter, you don't usually strive. No. You don't appreciate anything. No. You can give me 100 grand, $1 million, put me on a private jet, give me the nicest cup of tea in the world. I just won't appreciate it. So, whatever, I just expect it. So people that achieve success have usually strived. And when you have that attitude, you never really lose it. So I have the council estate attitude, the bailiff's knocking at the door attitude, the startup business attitude, the going to bed worrying about my clients attitude. You know, making sure they're happy. And I'll never lose that, because that is, like, embedded in me, and I think that's important.
I've seen that throughout the accountability sessions we have, you know, are amazing, because, you know, you're always looking, you know, like I've just finished doing the coaching course, and you know, that alone, my gosh, like, you know, another great business idea that, you know, people just forget that, you know, sometimes, you know, it's not just a product. Like, we're living in an information age, and how do you transfer that information? But you constantly looking for the next cutting edge, you know, in trends. And this is why I'm excited, because, you know, even in property, when I got into property, thank God I got in when the market was on its way up. You know, there's a lot of people getting in now, which the market might be on its way down. You know, and again, this is the trend thing. You know, and you have a knack for finding those things. You know, you're constantly looking.
Again, it's because you can see holistically. You're not bury your head in the sand on the day to day.
And it's not from desperation.
Yeah, it's not from desperation. You're looking much higher up. You know, you're looking down from above. Right. And you can see things for what they are, and you've got a longer time horizon and space horizon in your mind, so you can think about month to month and year to year and, you know, decade to decade rather than hour to hour. When's my lunch break? What am I doing Friday? Going down the pub to get away from this job I hate. You know, that's really where that comes from.
There's one tool that you have in one of the modules where you kind of like have to, you know, look at your life, like, you know, what's the average lifespan in your country and etc. Thank God I don't live in Zimbabwe anymore, because the average lifespan there is, you know, is somewhere between, you know, 55 and 62. When in the UK it's around 81, right? So you get an extra like 25 years to live. Right. You know, but those real statistics, people don't think about that, right? They vary, you know. So I got a bit scared doing that module because I was like, holy gosh, like I'm losing time, like so much time.
It's a slap in the face.
Yeah, it's a huge slap in the face. And you start to build your legacy. Like, what am I going to do in, you know, 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years? And then I look at my bucket list. I'm like, well, I can't wait for that. I should start living that bucket list now. You know, I should start doing those things now because I want to live an inspired life, right? And then you keep going into these modules that keep slapping you in the face and waking you up. Like when people say I want to be woke, no, I mean, being woke watching a Jim Rogan podcast, that's not being woke. Being woke is like looking at your life, not Jim Rogan's, not this person, not that person, and then looking at the things you want to achieve, and then saying, oh my gosh, like, you know, Jim Rogan just signed 100 million with YouTube, with Spotify for his podcast, right? So maybe if I did that and got 1 million, great, well done. You know, you don't need 100, at least you got a million. But anyway, the tools that you had that actually started to show me that, I was really, intrigued to like, you know, you spoke about it earlier on, but how you managed to create these tools that actually made real changes for people to start taking action and put in the work. Because now I'm living that. Like I wear my Tears of Freedom band everywhere I go, because as soon as I want to go to a restaurant and act like I'm rolling in it, this reminds me, like, hey man, you're trying to become financially free. You know, like you don't need to be doing this. You know, where did you know, I know your background is engineering. But can you just tell everyone a little bit more about that?
It's basically just understanding that people want freedom, and they don't, you know, yes, it's nice to have nice things, and yes, you can accumulate wealth, but it's about knowing where you are on the journey right now and what order you need to accumulate that wealth to get the things you want to live the life that you want by a certain date. And as I said before, that's all mathematics. And when you can put it in the right order and piece it together and show people the actual strategies as well on how to accelerate that curve, then it's certainty, you know, it's certainty in numbers. And that is my engineering brain that kind of comes alive on all that stuff. But I believe that's what's allowed us to create such success in the Tears of Freedom.
I love it, man. Thank you for that, man. It's really changed.
It's been a pleasure working with you as well.
Oh no, it's really changed. There's so much we can talk about. I mean, we'll do that in another episode.
Definitely.
Maybe we'll chat again, you know, throughout the rest of my journey, because what I'm excited about is, you know, not just myself becoming financially free, but the other members, you know, to, you know, and seeing their journeys alone. That's just amazing.
Absolutely. So guys, pleasure to speak to Terence. If you've got any questions and comments, put them in below. And just to kind of wrap up, you know your numbers. Terence is a very successful property guy, went into property with the fantasy of becoming financially free, figured out actually, you know, there's this threshold of uncomfort where you're going to have to kind of make some serious decisions. And you might realize that you're not actually anywhere near where you really want to be, and what freedom is defined by you. So there's nothing wrong with property. Just know there's more pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah, it's one of my businesses now, which is great. You know, right now, for sure. I mean, you asked. We'll talk about it in another episode. You know, I'm going to the film industry now. Which again, another asset class.
Absolutely.
There's something that will, the asset classes that you have just brought out of me as well, just intellectual property, the YouTube game. Oh my gosh, sky's the limit.
Amazing.
Sky's the limit.
Well, I look forward to following your journey, Terence. And guys, thank you for watching the show. We'll be back next week with another one. Until then, take care. Have a great rest of your day and weekend, and we'll see you then.